Hello, hello, hello. How you guys doing tonight? Hopefully everyone's doing good. Hopefully we can maintain a live feed tonight. Hi Glenda, hi Karen, hi Mark, hi Debbie, hi Richard, hi Matt, hi Berenger, hi Sandra, hi Tia, hi Gina, hi Dragon, hi Sandra, hi Tam, hi Rodney, hi Sabrina, hi Torin, Tom, hi Brian, hi Crystal, hi Tobin, hi Karen, and hi Christine. How you guys doing tonight? Hopefully everyone is doing good. A lot to go over, a lot of stuff I've been talking about. A lot of stuff going on with Russia and Ukraine, NATO, of course, and what's actually happening because the front lines, of course, are looking worse and worse. A lot of people are saying Russia's pretty much done, but I don't see it that way. I see a very small percentage of their higher grade stuff. Very, very small percentage of the higher grade stuff actually being used so far. And as NATO, of course, moved in a lot of soldiers towards the front line today, fresh sanctions are expected against Russian state people as well. I mean, you got President Biden, of course, meeting European allies, a gathering today, and the project turned into a united front as they announced new measures against Russia and moved more people into right next to the border of Belarus and Ukraine. Waiting for a provocation. They're waiting for a reason to come in and fight at this point, which is sad, but that's what's happening out there. And Putin, of course, warned today. Putin wants unfriendly countries to pay for Russian gas and rubles. Period. If you're going to buy Russian fuel, you have to buy it with rubles now. So that means he's going to try to correct his own market by pulling all the rubles back from around the globe, which he could easily do. Right now, Europe is still buying oil from him. A lot of countries are, and of course, by doing that, he would sustain his dollar, making it instead of closing at 97%, he can make it easily regain its value and close 30% higher by doing this, which would be a big game changer for Russia and change a lot of the dynamics of what's happening out there. According to Europe and other countries, they were settled. The euro, the dollar accounted for 39% of gross sales, steering around 3%. The commodity trading of the world, which makes up 80% of the world's currency reserve, we're losing our ground as the U.S. We are. It's China taking over and Russia now pushing their currency as the dominant currency that they want to be paid back in. And when you want to buy oil, it really becomes important of whose currency is dominant because that's the currency going to be trading. Yeah, we should arm the Ukraine army with cruise missiles and take out Russian Navy. This is getting to a point where nuclear war is not a question. Like Russia said, they have no problem using nuclear arms, and we are seeing the U.S. push more towards it. Really? I know we were texting earlier today. And I hate to say this, but I think people should be prepared. I don't want you guys to panic. I want you guys to be prepared, but I feel nuclear armaments could be used sooner than later. I believe that Russia is being pushed into a spot where we don't want to see Russia or China at, being made fools of by the United States or the United States acting like they're fools. Of course, making the globe look at them like they're lower people, but they're not. A lot of stuff has happened. It's just sad watching what's happening because it's happening around the globe. It's affecting us. It's affecting our neighbors, our friends. As gas prices are jumping drastically, now they're trying to pass these fuel cap or $400 they want to give away to California drivers a month because they pay more for fuel. But yet, the average American driver would only get a $100 check for fuel a month, which doesn't make sense to me. But Cyber attacks are coming. Cyber attacks have already been hitting the U.S., Richard. They've already hit several companies here. I don't know why my phone keeps trying to run ads on me, but bad luck. Yeah, there's nuclear war. Stay 6 feet apart and wear a mask, a cloth mask. It's important, Ed. You got it. But it's sad. This is what's happening. We're seeing it in real time. I don't know how it says I've been live for an hour and 7 minutes, but obviously Facebook is tweaking. Facebook clock says an hour and 7 minutes on my time. How do you get with your friends and family? You spend time. You enjoy life while you have it. These sanctions are an act of war, and Russia's calling it an act of war. You prepare for a nuclear attack by just being ready to move if something hits near you. Being prepared to produce your own food. Being prepared to have your own water. Being prepared to live without power for a while. The power grid right now is the biggest thing that Russia is trying to go after. And even just taking down our power grid can have drastic consequences for us because our power grid is so outdated. It would not only ruin the power grid, it would ruin our water supply, our water treatment plants, everything. If Russia took down our power grid. And Belarus's military is joining the fight in Ukraine. I don't care what the U.S. or senior U.S. Defense Secretary officials said today, because we've seen a massive amount of troops moving with Russian troops to Ukraine to fight. To back up the flank that's around Kiev right now to transport more goods and food and oil and fuel. Why not? Living is life. That Russia make a lot of moves. Of course, Ukrainian forces supposedly forced the army to retreat 55 kilometers to the east of Kiev, supposedly. But Kiev is fortified on all round. Russia's fortified their positions. They dug in. They built trenches. Yeah, what is the real reason Biden went to NATO headquarters? There was no reason Biden would go to NATO unless he was going to sign documents today. Or signing a declaration. And that's what scares me, is if the declaration was signed today, when will we find out about it? And what's the length of the declaration? What does it say? Where do we end up after this? Just one of those things, declarations, they can be kind of trickily worded. Blinken, of course, saying war crimes have been committed by Russia, but no war crimes have been committed by anybody else. Yeah, Navy moved the carrier strike force into the Red Sea. We have Biden going to NATO, signed declarations for something. Find out probably later this week. I mean, and then you have Russia, or not Russia, but you have Germany now joining this, supplying ridiculous amounts of supplies to Ukraine. Germany now going to send another 2,000 anti-tank missiles to Ukraine. What are we going to do if all these countries don't have the weaponry to protect themselves when this is all done and gone? We're sending weapons at an alarming rate. People don't realize how many weapons we're sending. We're sending weaponry at an alarming rate overseas. Munitions at an alarming rate. Of our stockpile of millions and millions or billions of rounds are flying out of our shelves and going overseas. Yes, Billy, they would cut internet for most average people, but you'll still the dark web or the underweb. All they can really do is blanket ban websites for temporary purposes. I think they would do that though. Biggest thing about our cybersecurity though here in the U.S. is power. Our power grid is not up to par. Our power grid is not up to par, and we just got to be right with ourselves and right with God, because if their cyber division figures out to take down our power grid, they're going to take it down with a spectacular fashion. It's going to be one of those things that takes weeks, maybe months to recover from, depending on the damage. The National Security Bureau Summit that was in NATO today, we don't know what was actually happening. We don't know what's actually happened there. Yeah, they've been baiting us. Last week there was a Monday, supposedly there was supposed to be a huge solar storm last Monday that never came. Literally, if you looked at solar counts, there was never a solar storm last week. But yet, supposedly, it was supposed to be the biggest solar storm ever. And now there's supposed to be another one that's the biggest one ever up and coming, Teresa. You are correct about that. Back to back. Biggest one ever. Well, they were wrong last week, but yet this week it's going to happen for sure. It's scary because using those pretexts, it makes people think, oh, power goes out. It was something that was already, we knew what was going to happen. We knew it ahead of time, but that's not exactly true. Take money out of the bank, yeah, but money's going to be about as useless as toilet paper. Well, HARP controls. I'm not going to get into that on here, but go look up HARP weather control, United States, and you'll see what happens when the jet stream changes over the. Yeah. Money, toilet paper. Yeah, gold, silver. It's going to be hard. It is going to be hard. Who wants to go after unfriendly countries? We have, of course, a joke of a justice being trying to push into the Supreme Court. Literally a joke of a justice. If you cannot be honest on your testimony to Congress to get appointed to Supreme Court justice, you should be nowhere near a Supreme Court justice. I am sorry, but if you cannot be honest in that single thing in your life, Billy, I've already said they've been holding back millions. You have to use money for toilet paper and then toilet paper. Oh, sorry. Yeah, back and forth crazy storms. Go look up HARP. I mean, the technology's been there for a long time. Blaming global warming, of course, and everything else on weather changes, when research on HARP has been increased drastically. You see the stock market, of course, having a freaking field day going up and down. Everything else that's happening in the world. What are people supposed to do? A lot of people are scared and wonder what's going to happen next, or wonder what they're going to do if we have a nuclear attack or a strike on America's soil. But we're seeing what's happening. I mean, the world itself is falling apart at its feet, trying to fund a war. Yeah, Billy, I hated that statement, hearing it, and that's the chilling statement that nuclear war is on its way to me. That's what makes me think nuclear war is on its way. Because NATO is prepared to launch nuclear weapons. Now, whether the United States will back that, whether so many weapons have been launched already. Yeah, S-300, yes, it is true, a missile deployment system. It's sad. That was an AA-based S-300, though. Anti-aircraft were put inside the S-300. Watching what's happening around the world. More weapons going over there, and it's not a lasting solution to any war. Sending more weapons over there is not going to save anybody. Russia's going to pummel that entire country to rubble, which we see happening day after day. The pummeling of cities now in Ukraine because Russia has had to fight guerrilla tactics, and instead of sending their men and women into Kiev or into Mariupol, they're sending their weapons in. They're sending their artillery. They're sending their missiles. Knowing. That way they don't have to put a soldier's life at risk. If people want to harden in and go and hide in houses and hide in every single nook and cranny, waiting to kill somebody, I mean, it's sad. Yeah, nobody's covering the war. Nobody's covering what's actually happening. The threats of chemical weapons, I seriously doubt will be used. I think that today we made it luckily without. Today, supposedly, Russia made chlorine gas leak from a food facility that was near the border of Poland, but it was within safe levels. They figured out afterwards, so they couldn't charge Russia with a war crime, and nobody died in Poland from the gas going over the border, which I suspected would happen today. I suspected today we would have a false flag event, and it didn't happen. I'm glad. But really, I expected that to happen today. A false flag event where something happens, and of course the gas goes over the border, killing citizens in a NATO country, provocating NATO joining the war. And I see it happening because the amount of troops we have moved to the front lines over the last weeks has been big, but the movement we've seen in the last couple days has been drastic. And that movement's not slowing down. That movement's speeding up. We're seeing more troops move towards the borders. Yeah, Russia's using hypersonic missiles. They use two. They use one land-based. They use one ship-based, which is an air-based version as well. They've used two hypersonic missiles, proving that they work. That's all they've done is proof of concept. How many of them do they have? That's the bigger question, because everybody's saying Russia's used up used 50% of their stockpile of ballistic missiles. Who cares about ballistic missiles when they have hypersonic missiles? Just trying to show that they have them, obviously, is one thing. Yeah, we have troops in Poland. We have troops in the coast of Belarus. We have lots of people there. They're not on a peace mission. They're not on a peacekeeping mission. They have been doing military drills preparing for war. They have been doing military drills up and down the border, bordering Russia and Belarus, for war. NATO troops, of course, have been doing that, and that's not a joke. If we send a single person into Ukraine as peacekeepers, that's an escalation. Yeah, well, his neo-Nazism can get out of the window because I really can't stand. I'm sorry, I don't like Putin, but I cannot stand Zelensky. When I go out there on their official military site, hold on, I'm going to pull it up here next to me. This is their official military site. I'm going to go to their news category here. This is their elite forces, or what you would call the Gestapo back in Nazi days. The Nazi Gestapos. We're going to go to page 79 of this. And we're going to scroll down here. You know, this is some of the stuff that they've done in the past. It's been in the past. It was back in 2014, 2015 era. But we get to something very interesting here. That's not interesting at all, doing Nazi salutes, okay? That's not interesting. We're not worried about that. We're not worried about them. Here. No. Nope. Well, maybe it's page 80. Or maybe they added stories to that. I don't know. We'll find out here. Oh, here it is. A very interesting Warhammer. A very, very interesting Warhammer here, isn't this? Make sure translation's on so I can read it. I'll read to you guys about this hammer real quick. This is the Chief Sergeant's hammer at the parade held in Mariupol, honoring the liberation of those from pro-Russian territory or terrorists and occupiers. Many of those present, and including the media representatives, visit the event and drew attention and interest with one of the hands of the fighters as Zion. The fighter with graduation from sergeant school to chief, the second graduation of military school and of commanders of Azov's regiment, and in his hands beheld the hammer on which the coat of arms of Azov's. Whose picture is that on there? That's a beautiful, nice hammer for, Warhammer. Oh, yeah, war. Yeah, Turkey's not going to do that. Turkey may be a NATO member, but Turkey is not going to step over this line. But this is stuff I'm talking about. How come the media is not talking about this? How come the media is not talking about what's happened? When, of course, they killed 43, or over the past days, they opened fire on 43 Ukrainian on the last day of front lines. I'm going to go to the date on this because this gets important. Well, not going to load. Take forever. But anyways, a lot of these stories, like, there, it finally loaded. Look at that. A lot of these stories that happened back then, I mean, they're talking about when they killed a whole bunch of people in 1964, or when they won their first victory as their party, or how many people they've killed since then. Bragging about their tolls that they've taken and the lives they've taken in Ukraine. To say they are not against it, I mean, that, these are the in-memory things. I should have went to a different page. But these are, of course, people they lost in battle, of course, and everything, which we understand happens. These are back in 2015 when they're fighting Ukrainian civilization, the Ukrainian population. They were fighting. Yeah, the Azov Battalion isn't allowing residents to leave Mariupol, making them human shields, forcing them to stay. Literally. Children, women, anybody they can force. While Russia, when Russia has secured areas, has pulled massive amounts of people out, shipping them across the strait right there, allowing freedom. But we're not hearing about that on U.S. media or even international media now. But we know it's happening. We can see the civilians entering Russia. We can see the stories of civilians that have entered Russia that are glad to be free from the war. Even though they want to be in their homes, they're glad they're not being killed or persecuted or injured. Yeah, they've been tearing up passports for foreign nationals coming to fight for Ukraine. That's something scary. Foreign nationals coming to fight for Ukraine, of course, getting their passports taken away and destroyed. So they can't even leave the country if they wanted to. Glad I'm actually able to go live tonight for a little bit. I know I haven't been live 2 nights. Computer last night. Not fun, but part of life. It's scary though. Oh, hold on, Billy. I am not set up for calls. You got to hold on unless I can get it in time. You're going to have to call back, Billy. You're going to have to call back. Can't answer that call. I was not set up for it ahead of time. Billy, if you call back, I will answer the phone. Or whoever wants to call in. Yeah, Billy, you're going to have to call back if you were trying to call in. I'm sure you had your mic muted. There you go. There you go. How you doing tonight?
What's up, Chris? How's it going?
What's up? It's getting scary out there, especially for anybody that's paying attention to back channels.
Yes, it is. Hey, I was wondering, can I play like a 2-minute segment of this video just so people can hear it? It's an audio.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, it's from Full Spectrum Survival. He made this video today, and I'm just gonna play the first 2 minutes of it. I'm gonna put it on speaker. Hold on. Can you hear me?
Yep.
All right, hold on.
The Secretary General to NATO is moving all allied governments into a position of heightened readiness. This is bad. I'm not going to lie to you. Russia has warned that the United States of America and NATO are attempting to destroy the entire culture and government of Russia. And in the very same breath, the Russians have said that they will only use nuclear warheads and nuclear war for an existential threat to Russia or a threat to Russia's very existence. The United States government is claiming that there are new movements in and around Russia's known nuclear weapons facilities that indicate that the nation is already or has begun taking steps to prepare for a nuclear attack in one of the world's most dangerous threats to existence ever in history. It will make our entire world uninhabitable, warns one research division of a U.S. university. Another outlet claims that a limited nuclear exchange will have extreme localized consequences, but that the fallout from nuclear weapons detonation will be mostly manageable, paving the way for both the United States of America and allied nations, as well as Russia, to begin the use of nuclear weapons in times of duress and existential threat. Senators in the United States of America are reported to be...
So, Chris, what do you think? Is that accurate? What are you saying?
Yeah, that's actually this guy. I don't know if you guys know who he's playing right now. This guy's actually pretty good at getting some information, special critical news. But he does bushcraft survival and interviews and reviews usually. But I think he's spot on with this because we've seen massive movements of nukes, not just in Russia, but our nukes that we have deployed in Europe being moved around. I mean, this is getting scary. This is a situation that could easily lead to a nuclear war.
Yeah.
And it's not a fear. I don't want to fearmonger people. I don't want people to be, like I said, like we were talking earlier. I told you, I want to be able to tell people without scaring people, freaking them out. But people need to know what's happening. It's scary, but you got to be prepared.
See, it's what he said. What Russia said is what is really interesting. That they would use nukes if they feel there's an existential threat to them or their government, and then in the same breath they say that they feel the United States is trying to destroy their government. Right there is so from Putin's point of view, his perspective, that he thinks that hey, he might already be at war with the United States and in NATO, and that's where a lot of people don't understand.
Not only that, we can see the war on NATO that he feels, but then we see the escalation that we see in the last couple of days of the massive amount of troop movement from the U.S. and NATO. If you look along the border of Poland or actually go to Moldova to up past Belarus now, we have massive amounts of forces on the border. A massive amount of forces. And to say we don't, now we sent over 600 pilots over in the last week. 600 pilots to pilot planes like F-35 stealth bombers, B-2 bombers in the last week. Why would we send them over if we're not previously engaged?
Yeah, or getting ready for something, So you think Biden went there today to NATO to give the go-ahead, huh?
I think a declaration was signed of some kind today. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was a declaration for a red line to proceed if this red line is crossed. I do not see a U.S. president traveling that close to a war zone, going to Poland today, without having provocations to sign a declaration. To go into that full war where nobody wants to talk about, but the truth is going to war.
I'll tell you, I actually stopped watching the news for the last week. The only guy I watch now is just Tucker, but I'll tell you, I can't even watch Newsmax anymore because they're just following the Fox and CNN's lead. It's a one-sided bias reporting.
Yeah, and they won't give you any.
TV, yeah, go ahead.
They won't give you any side besides anti-Russian. And I'm not pro-Russian or anti-Russian, but when you look at Ukraine and really take it and look for it, you look back in 2014, a 30% Jewish population to today, a less than 1% Jewish population. No blacks, you look at a country that is truly racist, truly committing genocide, and then they state that didn't happen. The numbers don't lie. I mean, if anybody does any research into it, they can see there's obviously problems and corruption, and everybody knows there's corruption in Ukraine. It's not a question.
The problem I have with the way the American media, these shows are reporting things is they're just repeating these statements that are made by the Ukrainian army and government, and they're not being vetted, but yet they're stating them as if they're factual. And that's all I want. I just want... keep your emotions out of it. I want facts. How can the Ukrainian army and some of these news stations are going on like the other morning? Fox and Friends said that they reported, the Ukrainian army says that there's 14,000. They killed 14,000 Russian soldiers. How do you say something like that if you don't know if it's actually true? But you go on the TV on your news where there's millions of people watching it, and you say that without knowing if it's actually true or not. So that's the problem I have. I'll tell you what, I watch Euronews now, and the way they report it, they report things, they say this is what Russia government says, and this is what the Ukrainian army says. And back to you now in the studio, that's what they say.
Well, even what's sicking me today is like I watch Sky News sometimes, which is an Australian news channel. Sky News has become so left-sided within the last couple of months or weeks. So left, it's not even funny. Within weeks, and Sky News was a right-sided news broadcast out of Australia. To see that, it's crazy. It's like how fast. It's like getting whiplash.
Australia with the pandemic, so it shouldn't be surprising.
Yeah.
You know, with Australia, New Zealand became like just no different than tyrant nations. They use a pandemic as an excuse to throw the hammer down on their citizens. But anyway, all right, let me go and I'll get back to your show and all we can do is pray and hope for the best, man.
That's all we can do at this point. God bless you, man. Stay safe.
Take care.
Definitely getting heated out there. Definitely getting heated. And Sky News is, they destroyed their channel. They destroyed any fact of truth that they had in them left. Al Jazeera is pretty unbiased, but the problem is, same time, a lot of Saudi channels seem unbiased, but they are biased in very weird ways. And Microsoft, I don't know if you guys know that Microsoft was hacked today by the Say-So crew. They don't know exactly how they got into Microsoft's main servers. They don't even know what they hit at this point or took. What information was taken, how far they got in, or what actual damage has been caused. But Microsoft being hit today could mean every backdoor that Microsoft has into their own system could be taken by these foreign entities that want to hack American servers, American systems. Microsoft getting hit today could be very, very bad. We could be leading to multiple cyber threats simultaneously. Getting into those servers means they got access to the backdoors of their programming, stuff that most people don't even know to exist. We'll have to wait for the coming days to see what's going to happen there, but another tragedy, literally. I'm here. Where Microsoft got hit, the actual Microsoft. Microsoft, not Mac. Mac gets hit all the time, Minnie. I'm not getting into that whole debate, Microsoft and Mac. The problem with, I'm not getting into it. Not getting into it. A single platform operating system versus a multi-platform operating system is two very big different things. There's a reason Mac doesn't make servers. That's all I'm going to say. Apple does not make servers for a reason. But it's sad seeing what's happening. Because the tragedy of Microsoft getting attacked means government servers, power grid servers, Linux, Unix servers are all based off of an old Windows server system from 2009, or Windows Server NT, basically. So if you want to go back and look that up, Windows NT had a lot of Linux-based server aspects to it. And a lot of Unix and Linux servers today use those same aspects to run servers. Of course, programming and security is much better, but getting access to the back doors means Yeah, well, I think Microsoft was on that list, Karen. I think it was number 1 on that list. So they hit it first. Still no, they haven't disclosed any information about the damage that was done. They don't really know how much damage was done at this point. And that's the scary point is how much damage was done? How much information did they get out from Microsoft? Because they didn't even know they were in the system until well after they were gone. They don't know what actually they touched when they were in there, what they did, or what they planted. Going to be inundated with more of this as we go forward. Watching what's happening in America. Mac is not more China. China runs on a 17-bit computing system. I know you guys think China runs on Mac or China runs on Windows. They don't. They run a total different kind of computing system. Even their supercomputer runs on a 16-bit quadroflop. Or a 33.86 bit processor. A 33.86 bit processor. That's how weird China is with their numbers. It's not even a compatible kind of system. $33.4. Oh my goodness. A lot of people wouldn't understand like even how. Barry said that's a huge thing. And no, there's not a way. If you have a newer vehicle that is on the network, and it's on the network if you have a newer vehicle, it'll get an update automatically. And the updates that come through, who knows what it's going to be. If you don't know how to use the old CDMA network, the old one, the original CDMA network, or CCDMA, I suggest you research that because that's going to be a great way to communicate. Towers may go offline, sending signals of newer compatible devices, but those older signals still bounce. Food shortages are not a question. Wheat shortages around the world are going to be felt next year. Felt in an extreme fashion. Yeah, animal feeds aren't just a problem here in Florida, it's a problem here across the United States. See, the problem is we froze Russian assets, but at the same time, Russia has actual physical gold and people still want to buy oil. And here's what Russia did. They said they only want to be paid for their oil now in rubles. That means pulling in all their currency from around the world that's on the global market back into the country. Meaning resecuring every dollar they have. Resecuring their currency, which can only mean one thing. They're ready to close off from the world. They are actually prepared to do this, not sell to the world. If they're preparing to do this, it would have lasting consequences on the global economy. China's doing the same thing. Of course, they're moving more people are moving to Chinese currency in these countries that are high oil rich countries and selling off US dollar. If the US dollar loses its world value, what are we left with? Wheat and flour. Yes, if wheat's an issue, flour's an issue. Thank you, Debbie. I didn't want to say that. Thank you, Debbie. Oh my goodness. It's sad. Yeah, hundreds and hundreds of photos of as food shortages keep getting worse across America. Nobody's talking about what's actually happening out there. Biden still hasn't lifted that mask mandate on travel, but yet we have another variant of coronavirus here in the United States. What a surprise. I mean, I was just shocked when I heard that. We could become Venezuela overnight? Definitely. I mean, if they took down our power grid, we would become Venezuela 100 times worse overnight. We have much bigger population. Without being able to move the transfer to transport goods to feed our population would suffer 100 times worse. Our dollar would lose drastic value as citizens would be perishing. As fuel would not be able to be pumped from pump stations, much less anywhere else. You need to do some research, but there's actually ways to, or Susan, there's actually canned groceries, canned meats and stuff. Canned foods, if it's exposed, as long as it's not a direct blast radius. You want to grow sunflowers for the first couple of years as your crop, and then use that same soil to grow whatever you want. Crime's going to skyrocket. That's not a question. If anything happens right now, crime's already skyrocketing and nothing's happened. People are hungry. We've seen food lines in New York, food lines across the country, at food banks. Before any of this, they're talking about giving fuel credits because of fuel cost. It's not just fuel cost. Fuel cost is the small part of this, the little aspect as we look at this endeavor. This is going to affect everything because fuel doesn't just cost fuel. Fuel increases the cost of everything you buy, from milk to bread to the shirt on your back. I don't know why I'm having a problem sharing. Prices are going to keep going up at a drastic level. Crime rates are going to go up with fuel cost. Yeah, food costs are averaging people $300 to $400 or families $300 to $400 extra per month. Per month. Who's going to be able to survive that? Rent's averaging $500 extra now. So your cost of living is almost up $1,000 just with those, not including your fuel cost, not including your electric cost, which is going to be drastically increased. As of course, power plants have to refuel or pay for fueling now at a higher cost. In America, we're just as bad as Europe. We shut down nuclear power plants, moving to green energy, hoping that we would have oil and natural gas, even though reducing the input and production. At the same time, we shut down nuclear power plants, going green. Makes no sense to me. Nuclear is a greener energy, more sufficient, and you produce a lot more power with a lot less waste. And you don't rely on fuel. I'm sick to my stomach. You're out of there. Yeah, Joe Biden, wants to give out $100 checks monthly for gas. People stealing gas, that's just the beginning. And people, oh, I got a gas cap. They can't steal my gas. You know how long it takes to take a screwdriver and a hammer to punch a hole through it? Your tank takes about 2 seconds. No, it has nothing to do with efficiency or pollution. It has nothing to do with that. The agenda is to push Americans into a substandard or slave standard living. You take everything away and you're the only hand they have to reach out to. It's happened throughout society and it's happened everywhere. Governments want to take control, and the only way to take control of their people is to make their people depend on them for everything. Dependency is key. You don't even need a drill to do it. Literally, if people are drilling, they're stupid. That takes too long. You take a roofing nail, 6-inch roofing nail, and a hammer, and you get instant gas. One swing. It's a pop and done. It's sad. This is the America we live in today, and the America we are stuck with for now. I appreciate you guys being here, and I wish I had better news. I wish we weren't in the point where nuclear arms could happen at any time. We're seeing an escalation by both sides at the border over in Ukraine and Belarus. Yeah. It's going to become hard. Hard times are ahead. Hard times are ahead. Times are ahead. But God bless you guys. If you guys can afford to donate, please do. We will be back tomorrow night as long as everything keeps working. But our borders are out of control. We don't have enough food to feed our own people. The world doesn't have enough food to feed its people at this point. So where we end up, food shortages, fuel rations, nuclear war, we don't know yet. All I know is none of the roads lead to greatness. None of the roads lead to where we want to be. But God bless you guys. Have a wonderful night. Stand strong, stand tall, and if you can afford to donate, please do. We desperately need the donations. Even every dollar helps, so if you can send $1, if everybody could send $1, that would be like $40 or $50. Every dollar helps. God bless you guys. Have a wonderful night, and we will see you tomorrow night at 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. Good night.